voice. I'm Molly Barnes. I'm the proud superintendent principal here at Sunol Glen. Welcome, welcome. Really appreciate you guys coming out on this blustery day. And I really want to send my big appreciation to our board president, Mike Picard, because sometimes when you read things or you hear about things, you draw your own conclusions, but we always feel like coming in and actually seeing, I think, is really helpful. And so he put this together, and I'm really appreciative. I do see there's people kind of on both sides of the ideology on this, which I think is great, because at the end of the day, we just want people to feel informed and confident, no matter which way you decide to vote. That's the democracy that we live in, and we really appreciate that. So I'm going to turn it over to our school board president, and we did invite our architect, Chad Hamilton, because I know there's been a lot of questions in his realm as well. So go ahead, President Picard.
Before we start, I'll let you know I'm going to turn my camera on, and we do, because there's too much misinformation. I want the information that, hey, if someone asks me a question, I can respond either way. Okay. So I'm going to be recording. I just want everyone to know that this is on. So if you talk about your neighbor, so I want everyone to just be respectful. Everything else.
Is Andrew recording also?
Oh, Andrew's, he's recording too.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll release the video to the entire world.
No, I appreciate that, because you do want people
I
to
had a videotape of my son's soccer team, and I was giving it to the coach one time, and I didn't give it to him because some parent was talking about the coach. So I just
you have to be a little careful. We learned that in the Zoom world about, Anyway, but thank you. We really appreciate that, and thank you also, Andrew. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so do you have a question?
I was asking, I haven't been here in a long time because my kids were here a long time ago. Could we go around and just introduce ourselves?
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
sure.
This is Alex Starr.
Alex Starr, kids
She
from the
helped.
80s.
She helped start the community club.
Oh my gosh, okay, thank you. We love that it's a community club. And so I just really appreciate that. And it is going strong. So, and we love that it's not Parents Club, because just even the name, the nomenclature of community,
Well,
it
we
just has a
weren't
different.
a little correct in those days. We just named it what we
Well,
thought.
you know what, it's your legacy, because it's still here. And we have community club members here today with us. So nice to meet you, Alex. Okay, so we're going to go around. Again, we just met President Picard.
Andrew Turnbull. I've lived here since '99.
Oh, you're a newcomer.
Yeah, only 23 years.
You have to reach the 40-year mark to be not
Yeah.
an incomer, right? Molly Barnes.
Chad Hamilton, architect.
Ryan Jurgensen, I'm a board member right now, and I am seeking election as well.
And you're a dad with four.
I have 4 children here at the
Wonderful
school and another one on the way, and we live on the other side of 680 on Little Valley Road, and we've been here at this school for 6 years.
Yeah, Lowell Hoxley, I'm in charge of the facilities and stuff.
And what generation are you?
I'm the first generation here. My dad was a school board, but he didn't go here. And then my kids went here, and then I had a grandkid go here until they moved out of state.
I'm Pauline Bergeron, and lived here since 2018. I have a 7th grader and a 3rd grader.
I'm Erin Troyne. I live over on Little Valley. I've only been there for 2 months. But we've been in this school for about 4 years now. I have a 4th grader, a 1st grader, and a preschooler at this school.
I can extend my introduction a little bit. My kids were here in the 80s. We went on the first DC trip with Rebecca as a rich. And then I went again with my son. The first one was with my daughter. There were 13 in my daughter's class. I can't believe it. And we live at the end of Mill Creek, and we've been there since the early 70s. And my husband's family has actually owned the property since the turn of the century, the previous century. So the family's been around for a while here.
Hi, I'm Linda Burley. I live up Kilcare, been here 39 years. All 5 of my kids have gone to school here. What else can I tell you? I was part of starting the community club, and been real involved until I had to go out and actually earn money for my family. So I was real involved where I worked for about 15 years there, and prior to that I taught 6 years. I taught at Mission College for a little bit too for nursing, and was on the board there for our nurses
Thank you, Linda.
Tom Harlan, we've lived here since 1975. Kids enjoy going to school here. I started the Sunol Glen Theater, which does a melodrama each year. I hope all of you will subscribe this year. I'm directing and I wrote the play.
Is it the same one every year? No, he's saying you wrote it written differently in a whole new show every year.
Oh, no, sure, every year.
And he's just written this one for this year.
And I'm Vicki Harlan. I've lived here since 1975. Our kids did go to school here, 2 girls. I worked here for 22 years. And we respect the school and enjoy it. So would hate to see it go anywhere else. So, yeah.
A big shout out to the Harlans because they live right, they're our neighbors and they can hear my good morning greets over the loudspeaker.
We also get musical interludes.
Yeah, the music, yeah. Sorry, apologies, but you guys are so kind. You never just
We
say
enjoy
you love,
it.
you say you enjoy it.
Yeah, they're getting ready for the
Halloween parade. We're parading this year for sure.
I'm Tony Copeland. We moved here 36 years ago for the school. Our daughter was 3 years old at the time. She had a wonderful experience here, K through 8, and can't say enough about how much we value the school.
My name is Ben, and fortunately, she's still married to me. Hasn't thrown me out yet. And I used to be the president of the Sunol Educational Foundation when we had one, was it 10, 15 years ago. And we put a roof or 2 on a couple of the buildings.
I just found out that Ben is a fellow Eagle Scout. He and I both. I love it. And so is Neil. We got 3 Eagle Scouts in the room. Anybody else?
Me.
Oh, awesome. We got 5 Eagle Scouts? Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody need a fire?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Irene Martin, and I live on Lower Killcare, close to the Little Brown Church. I've been here for 47 years. I'm a walker, and I love to come and use the track on weekends, and that way I can avoid dodging traffic walking through town.
I'm Neil Davies, lived here since 1963. My sister went to Sunol Glen. I missed it by a year. School board for 12 years, and I continue to love this. Love the
How many years on the school board, Neil?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, I think that's worth a hand. Can everybody give my hand?
I can only do 4. Newbie.
Newbie, yeah.
Name's Ronnie Zeiss. We've been here probably since the 20s or 30s. So my sons went to school here, my dad went to school here, and his sisters and all that. They worked at the school. We've been here long.
My name is Paul Mociaro. We've been here since about 4.5 years. Over on the other side of the tracks on Foothill. And daughter went to school here. This is something I'd like to address that the Harlan said, and I'd like you to address it, that the school isn't going anywhere. You said that at the last board meeting, and I think that's what's happening is somebody's trying to scare people to say that the school's going to go away.
Paul, we're going to do introductions and then we'll answer those questions.
I can say it now, because that's what they brought up. So
We're asking that we move on.
Well,
Okay, it would be next.
yeah, I mean, I can ask the question.
I don't think this is an adversarial.
No.
I'm not saying it's every. I just want you to repeat what you said, and Marlene said at the board meeting.
Happy to.
I'm Sandra, I'm Paul's wife, and similarly, I just want to make sure that everyone knows how much we value the school because our daughter went here, and if indeed the school is going to go away because Measure J doesn't pass, then parents should probably be preparing for other school options in the future, but I don't think that's the case, so it would be wonderful for Michael and Molly to put that together. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you're a big wig at Intel, and I knew your daughter when she was in my great-nephew's class, both going here to Sunol Glen, and now your daughter goes to Foothill, right? Is that right?
That my daughter.
Your daughter goes to Foothill now, right? Yeah, great.
Hello everyone, I'm Jordan Boynton. I live in Lower Killcare. I've lived here over 12 years. I absolutely love this town and everything that goes with it.
Great.
So we are going to do a tour. That's why we're here, so we can answer questions and clear up any misunderstandings. You can look at all the facilities and the repairs that are needed. We did have someone bring up something that happened at the school board meeting.
Yeah, I'm happy to clarify that because you do want to make quotes are always a little bit tricky because you want to make sure that you're quoted wholeheartedly and not, cherry picked out a fragment. So at the school board meeting, we did have some folks say, so if Measure J does not pass, will the school close? And what we responded was, will the school close tomorrow?
No.
That's not what you said.
So and the other part of that is that the school, no one has a crystal ball. So it's sort of like your house. If you think that, somebody comes in and says you need to fix the roof, you're not able to guess how long that life of the span of the roof will be. And so, I don't like scare tactics. I do agree that shouldn't be something that is causing somebody to be fearful of. But the reality is this building is built in 1925 and there are repairs that need to happen. So the question about if those repairs aren't done, what will happen? Again, no one has a crystal ball, but theoretically, it could be a situation where it is deemed unsafe, or if a big storm comes, that the damage is such that the repairs need to be there and there's no funding source for that, then that indeed is an eventuality. This is the way the state of California funds school facilities. That you can debate whether you like that or not. That's why across the state of California, there's 100 school districts as we speak that have put bonds on the ballot. This is the way, Pleasanton I think is asking for a $350 million bond, and Livermore has a bond. All of these places, this is how the state of California has deemed, fortunately or unfortunately, that the facilities, in order to fix them, it's a local measure. And we understand, taxes are never a popular topic for anybody, but this is the way the state of California has set it up. So, Mr. Picard.
Yeah, so I think the answer to the question, will the school close? Want to stop there and close your ears and not hear anything else? That's the answer. And that's...
Yeah, he also says that you will find the funds other ways.
Right.
So, question about a law that requires you to set aside 3% of the general fund.
5%.
5. Well, I read it out of Prop 39 that said 3.
We're small, and for the smalls, it's 5.
Okay. So have you done that, and can you show that and how it was spent if it's all gone?
The 5% reserve can never be spent. The 5% reserve is mandated.
There is a maintenance, and there's another one that's a maintenance. It's not just a reserve. This is specifically for maintenance at the school, and they're supposed to, according to Prop 39, set that aside for maintenance and repairs. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask if we go on the tour?
Yeah.
I have a limited time.
Yeah.
I'd like this.
Yeah, the purpose of this meeting is for the tour, but we're happy, we can answer questions. But let's do the tour, and we can do some more question and answer at the end.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're starting here just in the auditorium just because we're standing here. And this is our beautiful, 1925 building. It's well preserved. Same thing with the whole building. We don't want to tear it down and make a glass building. We want to preserve it. It's a piece of our Sunol history. I was talking to someone on email, and I forget the name of the architect here, but back in the 20s when this was designed, it was by a renowned architect. And
W.H. Weeks, renowned California architect who designed many, many schools in Santa Cruz County, as well as Piedmont High School, and he moved up to Piedmont, and also, among others, the Palomar Hotel in Santa Cruz and the San Andreas Hotel in San Jose. He and his sons were architects, construction company, and designed hundreds of magnificent buildings that are being well maintained by the Santa Cruz Unified School District in Santa Cruz County.
That's
They
right.
value
As you
us,
tell
we
me.
value our school.
Sorry, yeah, thank you. We don't want to, take down our chandeliers and change stuff like that. Our Sunol Rec Theater meets here. We have, drama presentations by the school kids. We have our graduation ceremony, well, until we were forced to outside. But it is limiting. We have, occupancy limitations here. We're not trying to expand the school and bring more students in. We're just trying to make it safe for our kids. And I'm not trying to use scare tactics. I'm a retired firefighter, Rod's a retired firefighter, and we know that as we walk around, our panic hardware is not up to date. We don't have disability access. And yeah, we can pick and choose different things, but as you walk around the school and you see the scope of these projects, we didn't just pull these estimates out of the air. We have an architectural firm, they have a professional building engineering estimator. These are all projects that are, to me, critical to keeping our kids safe, our community safe. There may be people that disagree. They think that it's a wish list. I'm just wishing that everybody would agree with me, but obviously everybody has entitled to their own opinions. And you might walk through here and, this facility is beautiful. We have beautiful lawns. They do a great job. But as we walk through, you'll see it's not up to today's standards. And just because of the fact that we're grandfathered in, does that mean that it's the right thing to do? If my mom comes to watch a play and she's in a walker, she has to walk all the way around. When she needs to go to the bathroom, she's got to walk maybe 200 yards to the only 88 bathroom we have here. I just think what we can do better for our people, whether it's our students, whether it's people who work here, even if you have a temporary disability, carpal tunnel, or you've got a cast on your hand, that's where all this ADA stuff came from. It's not just, nobody here is handicapped, so we'll just go for it, the way it is. Anyway, we'll just walk around. Let's go out this way first. So just real quick here, this is just one of our main hallways. As you can see right here, this is the first thing I want to point out is our access. If you came up the stairs in the front, if someone with a disability is to come in to the front, they have to either phone ahead or get someone's attention to let them through the gate and walk around, because we are a secure campus just because of our society today. And then I'll show you the ramp that's out there that they have to come up. But this is an example of our hardware. And yeah, it's like, well, just put a different door on it. Well, we do want to preserve the charm of our school, just like I said before. We want to keep it, we don't want to just have a solid, door or a glass door. We want to have it look like this, but have the proper panic hardware, where if there's a fire, emergency, earthquake, people can get out the way they're supposed to.
Are those the original press bars?
I do not know.
I would say these
They're
most
pretty old.
likely are. This obviously.
Yeah, they're pretty old.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's functional. There's nothing wrong with it, except for that it's not up to our current safety standards.
Are you saying the crash bar doesn't work?
Pardon me?
Are you saying the crash bar does not work? No, the crash bar. Yeah, if you push on it.
If you push hard enough, but if you've got a third grade and a second grader,
Yeah, no, I just
you can come and push on it and see how.
Is there going to be a disabilities ramp on this side of the school as well as what's in the back now?
What we studied is the main entrance, which would be the other entrance on the way we all came in.
Yes, to the office. Yes.
Yeah, this is more of a secondary entrance, like for school or for other exit, like for emergency exits.
The last break-in we had did come through that door there too. These doors are not very secure.
They pop.
Pop the window out, reach in,
Something to remind you of something that we want to replace all the windows doors. So we do have a possibility. It's not confirmed yet, but the quarry is nearby, and they've got a responsibility, I believe, for just the town in the nearby vicinity. It caused so much dust. Fox can explain more, but they will help either pay completely or subsidize replacement windows that seal better than.
It's
Some of these houses still
process,
have,
but it's got to be approved, and we got to agree to it. There's a whole other county thing.
Yeah, the SAC board is on it, Connie DeGrange. This has been, and Neil, I know that you were a big champion of this. The Tory is responsible for supporting the school, and they do give it that $50,000 grant availability per year. We were successful in getting $52,000 for some technology upgrades because we wanted the community to have that available too. But the windows unto themselves were separately discussed with the quarry. 30 years ago.
And that discussion has been going on.
For a long time. It's
and
frustrating.
Nothing seems to happen.
Yeah, it's really Connie's on it.
And that was different from the 50,000 a year.
That's right, it was supposed to be in addition. I read the language, I saw it, I know.
And this is another thing, just things that, you know, in the 20s or 30s, whenever this was built, or actually this was probably an upgrade, but we want to recess these so that they're, you know, not something that kids will hang on, or something that can break off and cause a big giant water leak with damage. So those are things that
Will there
can
be
be,
a sprinkler system in your auditorium and classrooms?
that will be the intent. Yeah. For an upgrade like that, for a building, a public building, especially a public school, we want to have it as safe as we can for the kids, so if fire starts, boom, this won't come on. And I don't, you know, like I said, you know, we may disagree on, hey, this is too much money, or I don't want to be tech, but I think everybody agrees that these repairs need to be made. It's just figuring out how to get it done. I think that's where we're maybe not on the same page. Here's an example of just our HVAC system.
Can I ask a question about the HVAC? We can walk on this.
Sure.
I'm hearing other schools have been able to get through the COVID money, complete HVAC systems, and I'm wondering why our school didn't qualify, or did we even apply?
No, it does.
Remember I talked to you about that. Well, this was specific for air conditioning, HVAC, and filtered.
Current systems. We don't have a HVAC in a lot of buildings.
I'll let you guys walk in here one by one. We'll just all real quickly. Like I said, our bathrooms are super clean, very well maintained. But if you walk in there, you can see that just the access going in, the stall, the sinks are not up to our ADA standards of.
Does it
of
still
current
smell bad in there?
I don't think it smells bad in there, but.
I open the windows all the time, it doesn't help.
So, to make it ADA compliant.
We have the room to make it ADA compliant.
Yeah, starting here, we don't have the room.
Okay.
Right. So there would be,
cut through there.
well, we haven't designed it yet. But
Wait.
we know that
We're doing a plan. We don't have a
We can
plan?
put a new beam, we've expanded, there's all kinds of
I'm
options.
saying we don't have an actual plan.
we have preliminary studies
So,
in order to come up with a cost. But no, we
So-
haven't done a full design and we have not gone to DSA.
so
for
the
it.
costs are just a guesstimate?
They're done by a professional cost estimator based on experience over the state of California in what it takes
I
to do
thought
this.
there was an actual master plan.
So we wouldn't do a design until we knew there was money to pay for the construction.
That's not the way it works for school districts. I understand for homeowners, it might be different, or even businesses, but that's not.
No, but even for homeowners, I'm about to change on my house and I need to pay about $10,000 to get a plan on my house. So I'm not gonna invest $10,000 if I don't know
Have
that
the
I don't
money
have
to
the
pay
100
for
or
it.
200 to pay for the whole plan.
Right, that's
Why would I
exactly
throw away
Most
$10,000?
architects will draw the plan, and then you can go and do it the way you want to do it.
After you pay them $10,000.
Right, and we
Right.
have to, we would
So
have
you
to
just
use
get,
public
you
funds.
just go into a engineer, architect, and they give you a guesstimate?
Yeah, that's what I have right now from my designer for my home, is I have an estimate of what it's gonna do for me to see if it's feasible for me to pay the money, because how would you go, I'm gonna jump into a $200,000 remodel on my house if I didn't know if it was a $200,000 remodel or
A
$400,000?
designer as opposed to an engineer or architect.
Well,
Again,
the
we can
engineers and the
disagree, but this is the way
architects-
it works for school districts, Paul.
And I want to say guesstimate is not the correct word.
No,
Okay, so
we're professionals.
we've been doing school designs for 30 years.
Right.
We work all over the Bay Area. We've worked
And this is
throughout
what,
Central
and this is what
California.
this is what you sent them?
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, that's what I received. That was the only thing that was.
Our cost estimator is a nationally recognized.
That just came out today.
That was the first time
That was
I
just,
saw that
no, I have
today.
one, it just got
That's
printed,
what detail
just
that
got
we've
printed
been asking
today.
For many weeks, so today was the first time that we see the level of detail. So thank you for that. It was just taking a little bit of time.
No
We
worries.
have a couple questions up here. You got
Well,
a hand up,
I
and we'll
just
get
want
back
to
to
say
you.
one thing. We put on a quote unquote, a simple pole barn. And then the county started coming in doing inspections. And there were changes all along the way for a pole barn, folks. I mean, it's for storage, no human habitat or anything like that. And unless you have professionals who know what they're doing, and I'm hoping that you're one of them. I don't know, because I don't know the company, but there are changes that are gonna happen along the way. So even when they come in with an estimate, once the county inspectors come in, your life changes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a county inspector, we had 2 things that were on his checklist, right? Like from here to that door to the classroom. he inspected one, he refused to walk 150 feet to check out the other one. So you just, I mean, SHIT happens. And sometimes it's out of the hands of the people who are, you know, doing the work or paying for it. So even though the school district will get an estimate if this goes through, it doesn't mean that there won't be changes. So be prepared for that.
I have a question for you. You're getting an estimate from your designer. Do you think the bank is going to give you money on that estimate from a designer?
Well, yes.
Come on. A bank is going to loan you $200,000 on a guesstimate, on an estimate from a designer.
Yeah, because we just did that in
Sorry.
Pleasanton on our second story install, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not discussing necessarily my project, but what I'm saying in general is, I'm a person and I don't know how much work will cost, so I seek professionals. I seek designers and architects to put it together, and that's also what the school has done. So what I heard from you, and maybe I was incorrect about it, is that you were maybe trying to belie the idea that there were professionals putting their professional opinion into cost assessment. But it's not just somebody coming in guessing. It's not a guesstimate, it's professionals, and so the amounts may change. But what Molly was also saying is that it's a significant investment in money to get the master plan completed. And if we're at a point where we don't know if Jay is going to pass or not, why would the school take money to make a large investment in something that they don't know is a sure thing or not?
It wasn't
So
clear.
that
This was
is
for
what
4
I'm
years
saying,
now,
is that
right?
investment isn't made because they are using their
You know,
funds
I'm just interrupt.
a different way in the school.
I'm in no rush. I can be here all day. This gentleman wants to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
We have, I
Yeah,
already
let's
caught
keep
that we're gonna have a thing, and I
Thanks, Rob.
on both sides.
Thank you.
So let's continue so we can have this gentleman, because he must understand.
Good.
This discussion will go in loops for a while
Yeah.
afterwards, and we're willing to listen.
Thank you.
But let's do that afterwards.
Thank you.
I mean, and trust me, I understand there's two sides, and I am trying to see both.
Besides widening the doors to make the American Disabilities Act, what other renovation has?
Everybody please take a walk through there, and then I'll answer your question. Basically, the stall is too small, the seats are not up to date.
Like I said, we haven't designed what exactly we're gonna do, but we know that with this amount of work, we have a good idea.
Does it
Much
still
better.
smell like
Smells-
it did?
Oh, it does smell better, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, you can't get a wheelchair in here.
This is a big difference in price.
So again.
So you have to get a wheelchair in here?
You can get a wheelchair now. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we want to preserve the architecture as much as we can, so we want to preserve the space, we want to, we don't want to spend time and money. Of course. Reasonable amount.
Absolutely.
So, again, we haven't designed exactly where each.
When you came up with a price to redo the bathroom.
Right. So there are many ways to come up with a price. What do you do for?
I'm a plumbing contractor.
Okay, great. So
I'm in your field right here.
So you're used to looking at a full design and saying, okay, these pipes cost so much, these water closets cost so much, That's
But I'm also a contractor.
Oh, I understand. So that's the way a contractor puts the price together. At a very early stage, we put the price together, we put an estimate of the price together differently from that, right? Because we've worked on scores.
I'm right, you're just going down.
Let me
I'm
finish.
sorry.
Let me finish. We've worked on many schools, and our cost estimating consultant, who not only for us, but for all the school or all the education architects in this part of the state, we've all done this many times. So we have a good sense, okay, come into an older building like this is about what it's going to cost.
Right.
Because for us to do the design, the district's going to have to pay for that. We have to pay consultants for that.
But you're saying that for Measure O and Measure J, there's never been a design.
Design, we're not to the point of doing design. We would do design when the bond is passed, if the bond is passed. What I'm saying is, you and I do cost estimating very differently. You're used to doing it based on plans and specs.
No. I would walk into this building and say, okay, this needs to be done. Your cost estimator is doing it out of a book. Yeah, he's measuring the square footage of this room, and he's saying this is how much that bathroom should cost.
He's not doing it based on that.
He came here?
No, I did.
Okay.
So I wrote up a scope, I explained it to him, and then based on work that's done all over the state, we think a prudent amount of money to set aside for that is X. Right? So I'm just explaining to you how it's done.
I understand this. I've been doing it for a long time.
Okay. Well, you haven't been doing bond estimating here.
No, that I haven't.
I've been doing that for a long time.
Right.
So,
Well, that's my question was, that's why my question was, are they redoing the bathroom or are we just making it compliant?
so yeah, so it's done differently. So I can't tell you we're gonna do this to that fixture, this to this fixture, but we've allocated a budget that we think is gonna take care of it. And meet the
One way or the other.
and meet the goals of the district in preserving the building, preserving.
Hey, we're ready to move on.
Yeah.
We can go afterwards with our personal issue.
Yeah. All right. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
We introduced everybody, so we missed you.
HVAC, that main auditorium, you know, and it got wrapped up in controversy.
To get anything through OPC, it takes years.
I know, but I mean, we started when I was started on the board, and for 12 years it got wrapped up, and we finally just gave up.
The
But
biggest problem with the state too is, we got all this money we'll give you, but you gotta have matching funds, so we gotta have money in the first place.
matching funds,
Yeah,
right?
but the trouble is, the state keeps running out of money.
Right.
So you get a project and then all of a sudden, oh, well, we don't have the money
We
for
were,
it.
Neil, this is what you might remember, we were on the list and then they ran out of money and they closed the list. So it's frustrating.
It is.
It's really frustrating.
Are you going to talk about the seismic retrofitting that's going to take place? You going to tell us more about that?
Yeah, briefly we will. The panic hardware is updated on these doors, but most of them it's not. We do have some seismic repairs that were done. I'm told it's in the 1930s. There's much more current updated standards now. We see all the dry rot here, or actually wood rot, and all up along the top. I mean, this is all cosmetic stuff. It seems like, I'll just tear that board out and put another one. But it's a big building, and it's in a lot of the other buildings. All right.
That you would think is maintenance. No? Replacing that rotten board?
The minute you change something, they're gonna inspect.
No.
Or replace.
No.
We're just like, you're removing board.
A rotten board,
No.
rotten siding.
But it's
yeah.
everywhere.
Okay.
In Sunol, you take the first piece of wood out and you look, and the whole thing is rotten
Well,
inside.
see,
part
and
of the
that's what
problem.
we've been told too, is that
You know,
because
you
it's
don't know.
1925, once you open it,
And Chad, we
good
have
luck.
another quick question as we move on to cafeteria, but this ramp here, if it's not to AD standards, the angle, is it grandfathered in, or does it, does it must be replaced, or optional?
Accessibility is a really interesting thing to talk about. In order to do anything to the school, the path of travel from the street and the parking lot into the point where you do work needs to be brought up to current access code. So nothing is grandfathered in. You don't necessarily have to change it right now, but if you do any work at all, you need to upgrade it at that time. So there are a lot of non-compliant things here. To do anything at the school, the minimum would be path of travel to the point of work, staff toilets, or accessible toilets serving every population. So that means staff, men, women, if you have men, women toilets, boys, girls. And the way to get to all those things.
I'm going to ask a question
Yeah.
here. My understanding, though, is that the bathrooms don't have to be done because we meet the ADA standards even if you do the work here. I understand the ramp access, but the bathroom issue, I'm just pointing it out, to my understanding, is not required. Because you still, is that correct or is that wrong?
That's not correct.
Okay,
That's not correct.
I want to hear it.
Yeah. So, you want to hear?
You're telling,
I think he's asking that you need more than one, is what he's asking.
So, okay. You have one out there, and that was put in when that work was done.
Correct.
You do work here, DSA, Division of the State Architect, who's the building department for schools, requires that you do the closest boys, girls, staff to where you're doing an improvement. So that would mean these.
Okay. No, that's important to know, because that's information. That's where that half information comes from.
Yeah, and there's a long-term liability for the district and the community in not making the stuff accessible.
Yeah.
Is that a student bathroom?
This is a boys' student bathroom.
It's
And
the
the
bathroom
girls.
that none of the parents ever wanted to go into. I can
Oh,
tell you
okay.
that.
All right, we're gonna keep moving. Right now, the 4-H is meeting in the cafeteria. They're doing a cooking project. So I'm gonna talk about it out here a little bit. We'll walk through quietly and then come back out, and then we'll kind of head this way. But our cafeteria is built in the 1950s, and you know it's great. There's a couple ceiling tiles falling down. It's obviously not big enough now to house all of our student population, but especially with COVID, we've had to put a bunch of tables outside here. So kids reading inside, outside, it's fine. The kitchen needs a bunch of upgrades. We have a stove in there, but we don't have the proper hood and duct system for fire protection. We've also got a walk-in freezer that was, I don't know, Mr. Hoxie can tell me how old that is.
Where's Mr. Hoxie? Oh, you went inside?
We do cooking.
We do.
Well,
For school.
For the community mostly.
For the community, okay.
Yeah, we do serve lunches here, but I think those are brought in.
So
I want to talk about the staff room also. So one of the, one of the other pieces that we're talking about is that, and when we did a survey of the staff, is that our staff room is extraordinarily small. It's like a sauna in here. And we have 35 staff members. This is our staff room, and there's not enough room for everybody to meet in the staff room. So this was an area, this whole building was, Mr. Hoxie, this is 1950s? 1959. So this part of our hope is that we can make better use of this entire space because again, this is a working condition for our staff, and this is very, very tiny. So this is an area that the staff is hoping to be addressed.
Where are the students going to be when you start, if it all passes and get your money? Where are the students going to be when you do all this work? And how long will it
On
take?
summer vacation. Great question. Yeah.
It's
So
not a 3-month job.
no. It is done in installments, and you're exactly right. That there's certain pieces, like this is where our students get their lunch. This is where food is served, and there's compliance issue behind that as well. So you would definitely want to make sure that the start of that could butt up against summertime as much as possible. But we've even had other situations where something's happening when we repaved the blacktop and it bled into the school. And so then we had to have lunch served in a more creative manner, like out the door. Because of COVID, interestingly enough, we put all of these weren't all here before COVID. So all these picnic tables that cover all this stuff has been because of COVID. We kept kids in hubs, but we ended up actually liking it. And so we're keeping it. I think the kids feel like they're on picnics every day, sitting outside in the beautiful scenery out here. But that will help when this happens, because before all the kids were in the cafeteria.
So the students teaching won't be disrupted?
Minimal. I mean, yeah, it will be. It will be. And then that's where we would have to have a plan. If there's work on the main building, for example, again, those kinds of projects should be mostly done in the summer times. But if it bleeds, our summer is now 8 weeks, and if it bleeds over, then we have to have a plan of where we place. For example, right now we have our kindergarten and first grade classes are in there, 2 of them. So we would have to have a plan for them. Yeah. That was a good question. Thank you.
And you walk through the cafeteria, it looks clean, like I said, still single pane windows. You can see some of the ceiling tiles fell down. I know what people might say, we'll just stick them back up there and glue them back up. Well, that's a temporary fix, which we've done, and they continue to fall down. So we need to,
Question about the kitchen.
Yes.
So while I was on the board, we couldn't use the kitchen, but we could bring in pizza, we could bring in other things and serve that, but we couldn't use the kitchen to cook food. And is that in this plan to upgrade the kitchen so it can be used, or you still don't have enough money to hire cooks? Or that was one of the considerations, but we weren't going to make our own lunches. We're still going to have lunch made by a vendor. The vendor would bring it here and we would serve it.
So the current estimate we have for renovating the multipurpose room doesn't bring it to a cooking kitchen, but it does address, there's some code compliance issues that need to be upgraded in that area that are related to eat and serve.
Food handling.
Still no cooking.
Yeah, we're not talking about
So for our school district, this is a part of being a small district. Having that program, it has gotten huge. Universal lunches and breakfasts are now available for all students per Governor Newsom, which is fabulous. But the codes behind how you have to prepare the food, all of that thing, and then there's a staffing shortage. So it would be a daunting task, as well as then the kitchen itself. So, but it's been a struggle. I mean, the Universal Lunches is a wonderful program if you have that capability, but we don't, and so we have to outsource.
And not in the near future either, right? I mean,
Probably
that's
not.
been gone forever.
Probably. I don't. The guidelines behind it. You can ask Mr. Hoxie. He has to go to the training. It's incredible because we're dealing with children. You know,
Right.
Their liability behind making sure you have everything up to all of their codes is really, really. And I did reach out to Pleasanton. I did talk to their superintendent to see if there was some way that they could partner with us, and they weren't able to take us on. I was really disappointed because they do their own kitchen too. So I thought, can you charge us and we'll have a staffer come over here? If we, just adopt us for that. But it wasn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't. They're struggling.
Don't
too.
really adopt us though, because our rate of how much we pay in taxes will go way up. Do not adopt us.
I just meant
They
for
pay
lunch.
what, 3 or 4 times what we pay in these bonds?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do pay more. But it's for. I just meant for lunch. I didn't mean to be
No, thank
absorbed
you.
by them.
But back to what you're saying, it is staffing. If we're going to have cooks here, but we have volunteers that help serve the lunch and staff that help serve the lunches that come in. But yeah, we're not in a position to cook for the.
I'm just lamenting the days when the lunch was 35 cents. Those days are gone.
The lunch problem now too is besides the cooks and stuff, you have to have a nutrition.
Yes.
Everything has to be, it takes a lot to put a lunch program on.
All right, so we can walk through here really quick, but I really don't want to disturb the 4-H, so if we just keep the talk to minimum, we'll walk through. I want to just point out, just look at the kitchen and then look at the little tiny bathroom that's in there, and then we'll walk out the back. Unless you guys want to wait out.
No, I spent hours.
No, I don't care about it.
Keep going? Okay, thank you.
It smells good in here. It smells like eggs.
Something you might want to bring up too is.
This is the one that went out.
This is the refrigerator that you fed?
Oh, when we bring in. Oh, no, that's the walk-in. When we bring in, you have to have hot boxes. Health department, fire department, will say with the fire system, we'll have it. So that's something that's on the list to do that. Even though it's a light. Fire system.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of things.
He's behind me, waiting for the guy who's talking.
And then this is the restroom.
Oh, the restroom that doesn't let anybody in it?
So this has got to be also wheelchair accessible? No?
Really? Well, let's ask, we'll find out.
One in the facility, but if you start doing work in the new area, then you have to.
Well, they're going to do work here, so they'll
Right,
probably
so then
have to change that.
the whole thing snowballs.
Yeah, so I think it
Right, once you start,
sounds
the
like
whole
it-
thing snowballs.
We have to put that.
So Mike, there was a question inside as to whether if we did work, would we have to fix that bathroom?
To be handicap accessible.
Yes.
And the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And which are the
Okay.
portables you're going to replace?
We're walking towards them.
Yeah, what was the reason for moving the garbage?
So the garbage is going to be moved, but it's, again, for safety of the students. We get people back here playing, climbing on stuff. It's going to be a fenced-in area. Mr. Hoxie.
Oh, so it's not being moved, it's just being fenced off?
Correct.
Oh.
We've identified, or when I say we, I mean the board,
Yeah.
Molly. We've identified that there's a need to upgrade that. It's non-code compliant. We need to identify a place, but again, we've identified an amount of money that would.
Things
that
happen.
would
You don't have
fix
the
that.
place, you don't have the location you're moving it to?
So there seems to be a lot of confusion, I can tell.
Yeah.
How do you come up with a cost for something if you haven't designed every detail of the design? And the answer is,
because we have done this on other schools all over the Bay Area. And we know what this kind of stuff costs. And our cost estimator has done about 50 times more cost estimates on these types of designs than we've designed. So we know, in general, what these things are going to cost. Whether it's here or there, we have a good sense of what it's going to cost. But to do that design without knowing that the community would support the work would be a waste of money on the district's part.
I like the word guesstimate.
All right, moving on. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
For you.
You can edit that out.
Any way you can get close to that plug?
I'm talking to him. I turned mine off. Respect for him. Can you give me a sec?
Well, I'm just running low on.
Okay.
You can pause it.
No, I'm talking to him.
That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't this yeah, perfect. So, Mike, if you speak loudly so I can hear you.
Or have him come here?
Yeah, here you can come here. Okay.
I think Andrew wants it closer to the speaker.
Yeah, go ahead. I got it back
All right, I think everybody's comment. These are the portable buildings that are well past their life expectancy.
Hey, can we have one meeting?
We're talking about the portables. They're way past their life expectancy. You can see this one has a floor that we now don't allow people to go in the back door because the floor is pretty non-existent. So these were, I think Ms. Worth was talking 1960s. We lost Mr. Hoffman later. Later?
Oh, yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
I forget they're old, and I forget the life expectancy, but they're way past their life expectancy. So that's another area.
Mike, the rate rot on the fascia again. I mean, is that something that we repair?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that we can take.
That piece right there.
Well, that's just that one piece, but that whole building is.
That's what
I mean, when you start getting exterior water damage, then it goes to the interior, right?
It was damaged before I even started working here. They had
I thought this
wood
was
stuff.
from the 90s.
That's from the 80s.
Oh no, these are much older.
This one's the early 80s. The end one down there's from the.
Probably here when your kids were here, right?
We had the computer room.
But this one needs to go away. I mean,
We had one, yeah. It was,
most portables like this when
They're bad.
it worked.
Exactly. And we have our childcare in there. I mean, they work. Art is here, and then this is our extra support intervention is happening here.
We have a lot of houses that are old.
Yeah,
One of the
way
things that
past
goes
their
along with
life expectancy. We pushed the life expectancy. Look how pretty.
Can you guys come closer? Can you come closer? I can't come to you. I'm stuck to this wall. Sorry.
So the question is, why do relocatable classroom buildings age and need to be replaced? So one of the reasons is, they're not built to the same standard as a permanent building. So they're not designed to last that long. But then a really specific reason is they're sitting on wood foundations, pressure-treated wood foundations, so they don't rot right away, but they're not designed or expected. Pressure-treated wood will rot.
Right.
And that's what keeps them from falling down in an earthquake. So,
But the ones that are built on regular foundation,
which would be like these.
you know, or the end one you're saying?
No, I don't think the end one is on a permanent.
It's pressure treated.
That's pressure treated. Because I think all the new ones that were done in '99 were on foundation.
These are all foundation.
That's
That's these.
And how long do they last?
These will last quite a while, but we've already had to re-roof them.
Well, that's like anything, right? Like your house,
But I
right?
mean, these tin roofs they put on these things, in 10 years, they started leaking like a sieve.
Oh, that's...
So from here, we got a good view of the roof of the school. You can see, it looks great. We love it. We love our tile roof. We don't want to change that, but we've done spot repairs here and there when we've had leaks, but it's at a time where we need to replace the entire underlayment. So again, once we start taking off the tiles, if we find the tiles need to be replaced, then that's another cost. If we find that they're breaking, another option we talked to the architect is you can get metal roof that looks just like the tile, but it'll last way longer. So these are all options that we're going to decide on as a facility committee.
And the estimate that we have prepared, for the main building roof is to pull off the tile, preserving it, expecting that some will break and would need to be replaced, set them aside, replace the roofing underlayment, which is what really keeps the water out, and then replace the tile.
And then at that time, we can do the flashing and the downspouts and gutters where you see, the water has gone and damaged all the wood fascia. The wood fascia can be replaced. I mean, this is all stuff that, it can be done while students are in session if we have scaffolding and different stuff, but ideally we do in the summer so a tile won't slide off and fall and hit someone on the head.
When was the roof last done?
Okay, hang on a second. We have a question. When was the roof last done?
I can't find anything on the tile part.
A complete
But I've got pictures of the patches.
Well, I understand that they took the roof off and then they broke tiles and had to take the tiles from the back and put them to the front. Right? And from
that's my understanding too. I've been here for a while. That's my understanding.
And then
this
from
is
this
from other sources.
report
That was
card
done
to
in probably
the
1999
to the state, it says 2013 that was done. Main roof. If you want to read that. Bottom. Not the highlighted part, but
we did the wells on that building.
Probably about the same.
The wells inside that building were we had to strip all the fiberglass tile off. And we did put the vinyl, the membrane down on the wells.
On the main roof?
In the main building.
Because I understood that they took the tiles from the back to replace them with the front tiles.
We didn't touch the tile. We didn't even
so that they would match, right? The ones in the back, you don't match.
I've heard that story, but I can't find any paperwork anywhere that says anything on that. So I don't know.
Question. You gave an estimate of $325, and I'm thinking it was 2 years ago that you got that estimate for replacing this roof.
No, it was $275,000 to pull the tile off.
The only thing they talk about
remembrane it and put the tile back on. And that was from a local guy doing it. Just he's
without the prevailing wage.
Well, he gives the school a discount anytime he did roofing, but he's not in business anymore.
Well, the other thing you have to remember, if anybody's ever taken off a roof, you don't know what you're going to find.
Exactly.
Well, that's the problem too.
You really don't.
You get up
Might be over
Very
there.
heavy, so if there's any damage, it would show up pretty fast.
You just don't know.
The tile is very heavy though.
I can't find any.
I try to stay out those roofs.
These 3 buildings you want to replace, and is this the 4th one? You said 4.
Hey, Mr. Mike? Is there any way that we could get the conversations to be here in one conversation?
Good idea.
Well, we kind of enjoy it over there in the sun. We're cold in the shade, so we're standing in the sun.
Okay, well we're gonna move on to show you another building over here. It's a 200 building. See if I can get another plug.
Yeah, we'll get another plug. I love it.
One of your children here today?
No, they're not doing what?
Can't believe I didn't show up with a full powered phone. I was on the phone this morning and I forgot to plug it in.
One of the children, I forget her name, that was here with one of our children.
Any plugs around here?
Inside.
Huh? Only
I'm stirring
inside?
the pot, I
Okay.
want you to know that.
All right. Do the best we can.
I didn't hear the response actually on the anchor bolts to the school. I understand you're doing the retrofit for on the side bit, you say? Yeah, on the side bit.
Yeah, so we're proposing that a retrofit is probably necessary based on our experience with this age of buildings. We see some reinforcement that's been done. We actually don't know when. Looks like way back in the cross direction. We don't see any retrofit that's done in the longitudinal direction, but we see some things that are alarming that would trigger
an inspection?
Not an inspection, that would really kind of mandate that you need to do a seismic upgrade. Like, for example, look at this elevation. What you see are a lot of windows and very little solid.
The bolts are right above that, right?
Sorry?
The seismic bolts are right above that.
The bolts do a different thing. So the solid wall is what resists falling down.
Sometimes, yes, that's true.
Not sometimes, always.
Well, I mean,
always.
yeah, it does, yes.
So
the sheer strength.
So let me finish, yeah. So we see lacks there we've seen reinforcement happening in the cross direction,
Gotcha.
not reinforcement done in the long direction.
And how would you change that?
Let me finish. The other thing that's alarming, multiple heights of buildings, which means the shear loads that are being generated by the weight of the roof are not being directly transferred down the way they would in a contemporary design meeting current codes, right?
Fine.
So we've done many seismic upgrades of schools, so we have a good sense of what that would cost for a wood frame school with these kind of masses in play. Again, we haven't done a detailed design, which of course the district wouldn't want to pay for unless we know there's community support for doing the upgrade.
What would that cost, that study, just on its own?
Yeah, I couldn't pull something out.
If the seismic,
off the top of my head.
wouldn't that be better to do a lighter roof then?
Yeah.
Well,
You would
so
think?
again, this is a community value. Yes, there would be fewer loads on the building if there wasn't the tile roof, but then
But you can still get the same look.
you're never going to get that same look unless you have that.
Well, it's weathered.
But we could get something that is similar,
Right, if you want to
lighter.
preserve that
It's probably
look.
more expensive, but that's okay because it'll last longer.
Last longer.
But we don't want to put, comp or metal roof. We want to keep it looking like
And I think
that.
they even have solar that matches clay tile roof.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's
And
a question
I,
here.
I have a question, one thing we haven't touched on, and that is electrical upgrades.
Yeah.
I remember being the technical director behind that stage for many years, and that panel, there were holes in it, you could stick your finger in the panel.
Yeah.
And the breaker switches, 3 of them didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering about that. Is that something you see in several locations around the school, or is it just there?
Well, it's primarily in the main building.
In the main
And also tube and knob, or knob and tube, wiring, which is the original wiring. Capacity is not what you would expect it to be for a school building today. And then if a rat chews through the knob and tube.
Is it still asbestos?
So I don't have any information on hazardous materials.
Okay.
So there,
That would be
it's possible there are some
an
hazardous
abatement
materials.
issue
That would be
there.
an abatement issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the last main the building I want to talk about, Mr. Hoxie pointed out, is the 200 building here, and that needs a new roof also. It's got copper piping in there, but for some reason, not sure if the copper is just lower quality or if it's our water, but it's got areas where the water actually is eating through from the inside out.
In pinholes?
Yeah, and so that's an issue with water leaks, with replacing the plumbing in that building and the roof. But that's obviously a lot less money than fixing our main building.
I just had a question. So maybe Mr. Hoxie can answer.
Yeah.
But in the report,
Mr. Hoxie, can you join us for the meeting?
it said that one portable dry rot roof would have been replaced this past summer. Did that happen? This was last October structural report to the state. The report card for school accountability. Yeah, here.
Roof leaks, roof outfit.
Yeah. One portable dry rot will be replaced next summer. So this was October 21. So that would have been this past summer. Was that done?
No.
No? It was not done?
Yeah, the report card. It needed to be done, but.
Yeah, so this is the state report card that says everything was rated good except for the roof and structural
There was no
damage.
money for it.
That was rated fair, and then Mr. Hoxie said this was not done, this portable dry rot
And Mr. Hoxie
replacement.
said there was no money for that
Yeah,
replacement.
okay, that's, just wanted to understand, because I was trying to look to see what was done.
These
that was
buildings, when
missed.
the roofing got done, all these portables put in 2000, in 2014, 15 or whatever, they were all re-roofed. They put plywood down, fiberglass, put that, what do they call it, the rubber membrane, I call it. Yeah, TBV or whatever. So it's got a 50-year roof on it, which extends the life of these buildings a whole lot.
Yeah.
At the same time, we had enough to go into the wells of this building because the wells were leaking like crazy. And
Valleys, you mean? The valleys?
Yeah, the valley. I call them wells.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's 2 of them up there. They were all stripped off, and we had to fix some wood. We had to do some fixing of the dry rot that was underneath it, and then they put the same TBV in those valleys.
Right.
But we didn't get into the tile
main-
part,
the main
because that's a whole other can of worms.
So on this report card, this thing says re-roofing was completed in 2013.
That
Is that
was-
talking about these?
those are the patches, yeah.
And the patches that were done there?
Patches,
Okay, so that
They
wasn't
wrote-
completely
They wrote
re-roofed.
main building on there, right?
Well, it's a little deceiving. It says new plumbing in the main building was replaced during the summer of 2012, period. Re-roofing was completed in 2013 and gutter repairs were done in 2014, period. It doesn't, I assume it follows right after main building, but
they weren't
maybe
that
it was,
specific about it.
maybe it was not written correctly.
You've
I'm not
brought
the
up in the
most
past
literate when it comes to
sewer.
writing these things down. And I do the.
You're awesome, Mr. Hawks.
I write the reports up, and I don't. Yeah, some of it might not be
So
quite right.
there was something with regard to the sewer upgrade. What exactly are we talking about there? Oh, also the science classroom or whatever that we're doing. What are the propositions? Because we didn't know. One person, I think it was Bob Frillman, asked, are we talking about a new construction with the science? And got to know, but we don't have any other details. So, yes.
Yeah.
That's the what, I'm sorry?
It's reconfiguring. So it's a niche space for extending the function of the existing NPR, the existing multipurpose room. So
The
that's-
cafeteria is
I
what
see.
we call it.
And do we have
almost $2
gas
million
there
in
for
that?
Bunsen burners, or do you know? We do have gas, I think, for the
In the
kitchen.
science
So I
lab,
don't.
there are Bunsen burners.
They haven't
Okay.
used them you said you haven't used them in years and years and years,
No,
right?
we cut the gas off.
Yeah.
That's just a liability.
Yeah.
For a grade school, I don't think we need. Yeah, no
Okay.
other Bunsen burners are not used.
So the upgrade in the cafeteria room is almost $2 million?
1.8 is what I
1.8?
remember, but
Yeah.
I don't want to
No,
trust
that's
my
what you
memory.
gave us, yeah.
Yeah,
1.8,
1.87.
almost 1.9.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is not to build more buildings. So when they're saying construct a math and engineering lab, talking about reconfiguring the cafeteria space, maybe some movable walls, different, maybe desks that can be rolled out of the way.
That request came from the teachers, so they did feel that we're limited on our real estate here at Sunol Glen, and thinking that if we could, most elementary schools have a multi-purpose room, but we don't. And so trying to see if there's ways to reimagine that space, but that came directly from the teachers. That was
$6
so we
million
wanted to-
for the
so we-
month. That was,
so
what
we
was the
wanted to-
multipurpose room?
So Linda, we wanted to respect make sure we heard from their wish as well.
In Measure O.
$6 million.
$6
for the new
million
building.
for the new building.
Yeah.
Okay, for the multi-purpose
And it's actually
building.
almost a little bit more.
Now
That
it's
got
more
it
without
up.
a new
Yeah,
building.
you were almost
How much
$11
was it
million.
for? I'm sorry, that number, I wasn't paying attention. How much did you say?
The new building was almost over $6 million.
Yeah.
Now, that was only a $9.5 million bond. Now we're almost at $11 million bond without the building, so it got absorbed somewhere else.
There's a little bit of confusion too by,
That was from Measure A you're talking about.
No,
Measure O before
What is
J.
From 3 years, from like.
From, the last election.
I have a question first about the sewer systems.
Well, can I just ask one
Oh.
quick thing here? Okay, so this says that for renovating this, it says 1.8, like you said, 7.8. But then on this other one that came from your office, it's actually 1.978.
Another
the numbers have
100,000.
changed in
I
the
know.
last 2 weeks. I don't know what happened.
And we don't understand, well, I know we
think
took
you-
off.
I think you might be comparing stuff from our office and stuff from another source, because that's
It
the
could
only
be.
list that.
That's what was on the
we-
website,
So that-
the school website.
Okay.
And then I think originally there was a play yard that was taken off.
Right.
And so I'm assuming that's because you had that grant that covered the play yard.
That's
and so I see a number of things actually got bumped up. So
Right.
you took the play yard off and you bumped up about 4 different items, maybe 3.
Yeah.
I wrote them down, but I'm wondering, it's not monopoly money. We have to
Yeah.
account for these things.
Yeah, so it just, it's like 10.9 is not moving. Even if we get money from other things and we no longer have to do that work, then it just gets absorbed and other things get bumped up.
Right.
That's really what you shared with us
Because it was
last.
September 24th,
today.
when I got the email that showed the budget, and then yesterday, everything moved without the playground, and all the other numbers just went up just to fill in.
The 10.9.
So it kind of seems like.
Everything just
seems like
always
the numbers
backs
are
into the
floating.
number.
So,
Well, I'm gonna ask these two, people actually represent the school. So why is that being done, the numbers,
should I explain?
No, I want the school members.
Okay.
Yeah, before you answer, Paul asked me at the board meeting for a project list. So we had a list of the projects. I sent you an email and I said, the numbers are not correct, but here's the project list. And
So
so
the
that,
changes made. That's okay.
yeah, that,
And no,
I
and I don't
I
mean
forget
to
which one I,
disrespect you, but the thing is, I've had third parties sometimes get information, and later on you ask something about it, and they're no longer there. That's why I wanted school members, people to hear that would answer.
It's me personally that's providing advice to these two.
Right.
So I want to point out that the need that we assessed on this site is greater than $10.9 million, right?
I don't know, I'm missing.
The
in here.
the bond
11.
capacity for this community is $10.9 million.
Well, it's actually 12, right?
I was told it was 10.9.
So the board, so we listened to the community after Measure O didn't pass by 10 votes. And two things that came back to us was people really didn't like the idea of the multi-purpose room. It seemed like, I mean, a lot of people liked the idea of it, but that seemed too expensive. And yeah, so we listened to that. The board listened to that and said, you know what, let's take that off. And then the second one was the idea of having to pay for 4 years, crossing over the two bonds. And so the old bond is expiring in 2024, I believe. And so those two items were really important to this current board when making this decision. And that's why that got up there. But the needs list, I think it's in here. I think it's like 11 point something million. But we did, so then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So then the bonding capacity is actually higher, but we really wanted to be respectful to the town, and the board made the decision to go for the lower amount because we could have gone for $60 per 100,000 or $59 per 100,000 assessed valuation, but instead we thought, well, we really want it to pass. We really care about our beautiful buildings, and we want this to pass. And what might be more tolerable is to go for a lower amount, and then prioritize that list, and then see if there's grant, like we did. We found a grant for the playgrounds. On the list right now is the garbage area. We're trying to look for a grant for that. So we're trying. I mean, that's our responsibility, is to be exhaustive in finding grants and doing what we can. But then at some point, we do need to turn to the community to help support the school.
Yeah.
Did you want to add on to that?
just to add what Paul was saying is, our bond capacity for our district is higher than what we're asking. And the third thing, so she said people didn't want the multi-purpose room. They didn't want two bonds together stacked on top to pay for two at the same time. And they didn't want an increase in the amount, because what we were asking for in Measure O was $59 per 100,000, whereas we're paying 52 per 100,000.
The reason was, as Ryan told me, that you wanted to try to keep it so that nobody would have to pay more, right? You're saying if it was 52 then, it would be 52 now, and we just extend for another 30 years.
Yeah, and to everyone's point is, we're saying, oh, there's no increase. Well, everything goes up and down, as everybody knows. We have, interest rates go up and down, property values go up and down. Property values usually mostly go up. But we asked originally for 59 per 100,000, and the public said, we don't want to pay more. Okay, well then we're going to keep it at the same rate. Well, the same rate right now is 52 per 100,000. I think back then in Measure O, it was 49. So it's already gone up.
Yeah. It almost sounds like we should have went for the 59, or for the...
What? Wait,
Wait, listen. We should have went for the $9.5 million one. You could have got a new room. Because all this other stuff that we're just finding out now wouldn't have been...
Well, it almost passed.
But it didn't pass.
No,
so we wouldn't have had to worry about seismic, because seismic wasn't in it 2 years ago.
Well, the main building it wasn't.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
It's not in Measure O.
And Mr. Jurgensen, as a current board member, how do you feel about all of this?
Well, we know.
We know what you want.
We know how you feel about it, because you want to pass the measure. So it's
one
not
thing
like an open. I mean, we know how he feels about it.
One thing I heard from Mike is,
I would think it'd be kind to
well, yes, choose kind. That's right.
One thing I heard from one thing I heard from Mike is that he said there's a wish list. I don't hear wish from this gentleman. I keep hearing code compliance, failing, code compliance, failing. Something needs to be done. So to me, the first issue is, ask yourself, does the school need something?
Hey, knock it off, guys.
Does the school need something? Does it need repairs? Yes. And then number two is, if we give the school money, do you trust the school board, the school management, the administration, Mr. Hoxie, to do what's right?
Well, but you haven't asked, is there another way to do the repairs in a priority manner that doesn't require us to issue such a large bond that will cost twice as much of the bond value over the next 33 years, right? Because the actual
Twice as much as what?
Well, it's
We pay the
10.9
bond.
million, but it really turns into all 22 million over 33
There
years.
is another way. You can ask everyone in the community to pay upfront a certain amount.
You
So-
can have a parcel. You can
Yes.
ask the community of parents that send their kids here because they really enjoy having their kids here to participate and support.
Yep.
You can have a prioritized approach so that it's not one bond measure that is a new tax, which is, misleading when it said that it's not a new tax. Of course it's a new tax. We wouldn't be voting on it if it wasn't a new measure. It is not more money because it just extends the amount that the households are paying. And I think that it's pretty insulting when some people say that the only amount that is going to increase for them is a cup of Starbucks a week when they're protected by Proposition 13, whereas anyone who's moved into the community since Proposition 13 is paying much more. And when you're on a fixed income in a time of inflation, actually that additional or that extended tax that continues is a big deal. So I just I want you to appreciate that there are other views, and it's not because we don't value the school, and it's not because our children didn't enjoy coming here. It's because this idea that the only solution is a new tax, and that the only solution is that we do everything at once that's covered in that tax is not the only option. It's very uncreative to just say, well, let's just pass a new tax and then everything will be fine.
Because you can't say, I'm sorry, you can't say that in the next 30 years, you're not gonna go out for another bond. There's gonna be needs in this school.
I hear what you're saying. We have looked at those other options. We have asked that question. So to say we haven't considered that
Well,
is-
where has that discourse happened?
In-
In fact, here we are, October 22nd, and the vote is in 2.5 weeks, and we're doing the walkthrough now. And had we not pressed for more answers, we wouldn't have this document that Molly shared with us today, even though we've been asking for many weeks for more details. Where was the invitation for a conversation and a dialogue around all the different options?
May I answer?
And I will say one more thing, that these scare tactics, Sunol Glen is going to close if you don't pass Measure J, it's very misleading. It's very insulting, quite frankly. And I want to know how many people here today have had the sheriff come to their home because you're posting information on the public bulletin board that says, please go to this website to find more about Measure J. I tell you, I have. The sheriff has come to my home because those that are so opposed to us having an open dialogue and creative option and brainstorming about all the different ways that we can actually solve the problems together for a school that we all value, that our children went to, that we value in our community, that we want to see continue and that we know is not going to close because we don't pass Measure J. Imagine how that feels to be a member of this community, a taxpayer, somebody that values the school, the community, the children, and then to have the sheriff come to their home because we posted, please be informed, go to this website to learn more about Measure J.
I'm sorry if that happened to you.
It has happened. It's not if it happened. It
I'm
has
sorry
happened.
that happened to you. That sounds horrible.
Yes, but this is the bullying that's going on because we want to have an open discussion about different options instead of just extending another tax.
I am sorry for whoever did that. It wasn't us.
Well,
So
somebody
to answer,
here is part of that, right here today.
Well, I agree with this. Bullying is bad. It's right here on the chart.
Yeah.
We're
But
standing on it.
I personally feel the first question is, does the school need something? Not wish list. Does it need something? Yes, it does.
Yes,
We
and I
agree.
think we all agree.
And,
the
and
school
number,
needs-
and number two,
Yes.
how do we get the money? We have had lots of conversations, and the public is definitely invited to come to our school board meetings. It's been a discussion for years. Before Measure O, during Measure O, after Measure O, getting ready for Measure J. It's been a discussion in school board that whole time.
It has
Since
not been a
bef-
discussion that entire time. I'm sorry, Ryan, it has not.
It
Because
wasn't
this
on
popped
every
up,
month.
this Measure J just popped up in the last couple of months. And all this discussion has been happening because members of the community, taxpayers are wanting to know, why is this?
11 months ago, when I was on the board 11 months ago, we talked about it. So It's not on every meeting agenda, you're right. But a lot of the meeting agendas, it's on there. So do we need the money? We do, yes. We can argue about how it's all spent, but we can't really get into those details quite yet. We have estimates, but we can't get into everything until we start opening it up and doing it. The second question is, do you trust that the school leadership, the school board, and trusted advisors will use that money wisely? Or are we somehow going... Or are we going to...
oversight committee that by law you have to put together
Correct.
in 60 days.
Correct.
And so there will be this committee that...
Oversight.
Correct. There's no way that any of us can line our pockets or somehow use it for anything.
Nobody said
I'm not saying, I'm just throwing out ridiculous as one example, and I'm going to bring it back. There's no way we can line our pockets. There's no way we can use it for any other pet projects. It's got an oversight committee. It's going to be used for the school, for the children. So do you trust the school board or not to use the money to help the children? That's the question. Who do you want to have represent you on the school board, and do you want to show up to the meetings to share your opinion? Yeah.
Does the oversight committee, do they oversee the money after it's spent or before it's spent?
I would imagine it's both.
No.
So normally the citizens oversight committees in districts oversee the entire process. When we design,
it's after it's spent, I understand.
No.
when we design something, we will, in districts, we will make a presentation to the citizens oversight committee, or we will give a presentation to the facilities committee, who will make a presentation.
Yeah, because that is how
It's the
the
process.
decision is about, like helping to just prioritize, for example. So I might have an opinion that my staff is really struggling. That needs to be happen. That needs to be the first thing. Whereas the architect and the committee might say, no, the main building is really important. Okay, let's do that project first. But the committee, and I think Linda, maybe you were part of this in the last bond. The committee, and were you on it last time? Maybe.
I want to say something about bond oversight committees.
Oh, great.
As I said before, my kids have long since graduated. One is now a high school science teacher. One is a trauma therapist, and I think everybody here could use her services. But I'm also very active in the League of Women Voters. We happen to be, both my husband and I are active in the Fremont, New York Union City League, but I'm also in the Bay Area. There's an LWV Bay Area, which includes all 20 leagues around the Bay. And we pay attention to things like bond oversight committees. I just finished reading last night the grand jury report on the BART bond oversight committee, and they gave them hell because they did not require timely reports and updates. One thing I might suggest is that when you have a bond oversight committee, you require that they give you quarterly reports. Not monthly is too tight. You can't get enough of a view.
Not much difference.
But I would say quarterly reports should be required, and obviously published to the public, so everybody has access to it. And I think the board would be actually relieved to have an active bond oversight committee, so you don't have to go read a grand jury report. I mean, I've read quite a few. I hate them. I mean, they're boring as hell. But I mean, the BART bond oversight report, if you want to read it, the last one that just came out, it's awful what they did not do, and it was because the administration, the BART employees, did not do the right thing. This board is on that, they live amongst you, so you know they're going to have to do the right thing.
And I think you want stakeholders in that committee. So you would have teachers, you would have classified, you would have community members.
You can
have a board member.
list that in the. I don't know if it's listed because I haven't seen the wording, but you can list whom you want. We have
what they suggest, and people. I just took a class on this. It was a 4-hour thing that was, Zoom. And it was California Association of Bond Oversight Committees. Really amazing group of people all over California.
Yeah.
And I think that's available to anybody who's on this bond oversight committee.
It should have been listed in the measure. But I don't know if it was.
Oh, it has to. It's part of Prop 39. It's a law.
I mean, who they want represented. I mean, when BART had their big bond, almost $4 billion bond measure, I went to all of the meetings beforehand as a representative of the league, and then on the last day, the woman who was in charge of BART announced their list of people that would be on the oversight committee.
So they
Three
have
were
specific
professionals.
things. They want a
Let me
senior
finish,
sitting.
Linda.
Okay.
Just let me finish. We know each other. There were three professionals, and then there were two people that were outside of the professional community. They were league members. And I was stunned. They didn't let us know ahead of time because we had 19 different agencies that came to these meetings. The bike people and the disabled community, and all
You
of
should
them.
be on this bond.
No. I've done my service to God and my country.
You gotta let her finish.
But I think if you find an outside group that you trust and ask them, you don't appoint them. They present someone to be put on the committee, and then the board votes on it.
I see.
And so that's the way it works. That's why there's a division, there's a separation between the board, which is what you want.
Categories. They said a senior citizen. I think they had one person that manages a business. I can't remember all of them, but they said up to 7 people. After that, it becomes too arduous to.
Yeah. Well, actually, all the data science tells you that the most effective size for a decision-making organization is 7. Actually, anything above that, with every person you add, it reduces the effectiveness of decision-making by 10%. So by the time you get to 17 people, there's 0 effectiveness in decision-making. So that's why it's 7.
On that class.
That's
I
why
sat
it's
in
7.
there.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important part of this. If the measure goes through, then the public has an entree into what's going on, and the administration and the board have to cooperate, or all kinds of bad things will happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You do not want the county grand jury looking into it. Believe me.
Believe
Believe me, because they don't miss anything. They don't miss
The board
anything.
then will decide who is on that committee. The board passes who is on that
If you
committee.
specify, I want someone from this organization or this group or this professional group, you may want
Or a
some
senior
architectural.
citizen in the
Well,
community.
senior citizen
Wait,
too
did you
vague.
say that?
I mean, I think that's much too vague.
So I was not calling
you want-
I resemble that remark.
I do too.
categories.
But you need, I would recommend more specific categories. You know, if you want, like maybe a CPA or somebody like that, somebody who really knows
Without
money.
a professional background. that
And
would
maybe
help.
somebody who's retired, well, maybe. But, I mean, you have to decide that, and you can get community input into that. But it's really, really important. I can tell you from a league perspective. And it really makes a difference. So I think if it passes, I don't know, I'm not entree into all this since my kids are, grown, and although one came back home, but anyway. But as a professional, she's the trauma psychiatrist who can help you guys. But I really do think it's important. If this goes through, I really do think the board members have to think carefully who would best represent the community and how. And quarterly, I strongly recommend not twice a year, quarterly reports to keep up and have them opened. Oh yeah, oh absolutely. It has to be. Yeah. So anyway, that's my recommendation from the outside, kind of outside, inside, Yes, we're taxpayers, but I also have an awful lot of experience of reading those darn reports. So
We want you. Thank you.
no,
so
I
much.
don't want them. No, please, God.
Is the seismic written into the bond measure? No, it's not in the bond measure, but.
Well, there's 72 words limit or something, but it's been on the list both for Measure O.
Wait, but
and for-
if you're saying that something that's not on the bond measure, the money can't be spent on it, how are you gonna use that $3.1 million on seismic if it's not in the bond measure?
I think that maybe you know better than I do about that would be our bond advisor. But
It would be the bond.
I know that there's limited numbers, which is frustrating. But I think that as long as you have it on your project list that goes along with it. I mean,
You
I'm not
understand that
sure.
it looks a little fugazi when we ask for the numbers and all of a sudden we can't get up to 10.9 and seismic comes in. I sat in the last 5 board meetings. Seismic was never discussed. In Measure O, it was never there. All of a sudden, we couldn't find room. We needed 3.1 million to go somewhere. Here's seismic.
well-
That's what it looks like to me.
So I
Hold, hold.
understand. I do want to be sensitive to time. We're over our time right now. So if other people want to stay and continue to talk, that's fine. But I know for the tour, we're going to go ahead and conclude. But I really appreciate everybody, and I'm really thankful that people that support the measure and people that oppose the measure are here.
I oppose it.
So I wasn't pointing that way. I was like, yeah.
It's just like that, right?
It's not all over your property at all.